Vandenhouten, come on up here. Erica is a sophomore at the University of Missouri from Wisconsin, and I know for me, I've just gotten to know her over the last year. I don't know whether you guys are just affected by her passion and her smile and just her, what is it, spunk? But give your attention to Erica if you would. Here you go.
Hey guys, as John said, I'm Erica Vandenhouten. I'm a sophomore, and God's really been doing a lot in my life lately. He's been teaching me a lot, but I think before I get to that, it's important that you guys know where I was about a year ago. Well, I guess like a year and a half now. I grew up in the Catholic Church, but God and my faith were never things that were really real to me. I like to tell people it was like I was Belgian. It was something I was, but it didn't affect me in any way. I even went to Catholic schools for the first 18 years of my life. This is the first public school I've ever been to. But I sat through all the school masses and theology classes, either really bored or not putting any thought into it. But then my junior year of high school, some things started to happen that caused me to really think about God and my faith. My best friend's dad, Mr. Herlash, who was like a second dad to me, passed away after a 5-year fight with cancer. And that was really hard because he was always this really strong guy. He was the one kind of model of faith I had in my life. He taught me how to ski, how to drive, and I was like, he was just gone. Then my brother, who I'm really, really close to, spent a couple months in and out of surgery for some health problems that he was having. None of it was life-threatening, but it was really stressful on my family. And then on top of that, one of my other best friends tried to commit suicide. Thankfully, he was unsuccessful in that. But all of those things kind of just caused me to think more about life. And I didn't have a strong background of faith to fall back on, so I just kind of stepped away from it. I was pretty sure that there wasn't a God. I don't think I could ever be super positive that there was or wasn't, but if there was, I knew that the following him that I had done when I was Catholic hadn't helped me out any. So that same year, I got into the party scene. I was kind of always the kid that liked to push the envelope a little bit, and I didn't necessarily try to like drink the pain away, but when I was having a lot of fun and I was at the parties, I didn't have to think about everything that had happened that past year. So that kind of continued into my senior year and my senior summer, especially. I was graduated, I was going to college, I was going to party, it was going to be awesome. But God had different plans for me. I was really cocky, really sarcastic, abrasive, and I thought that I was like living the high life. Who would not want to be me? I was having all this fun. It was going to be great. In the first couple weeks of school, I continued that. I went to parties. I was having fun. But eventually, Kelsey Owens, who lived on my floor, who had kind of become my best friend at school, dragged me along to the rock with her. I don't even think it was a rock service. It was some kind of like hangout, and I really only went because I was kind of mad that she was hanging out with these rock people all the time. But I love the people that I met there, and I kind of stuck around just because I like the people. They put up with me, so I just stuck around. Then in like the middle of, I guess it was early September, I went to my first rock service. And when I was there, I didn't really know what to expect. The only kind of religious service I had ever experienced was a Catholic Mass, and it was very, very, very different. But it also felt like everyone in the room was understanding something that like I just was not getting. And it was something that I wanted to be a part of. So I started kind of exploring a little bit, and I think that's where God really started to change my heart. On the 2-year anniversary of Mr. Herlash's death, Elizabeth Jester let me stay at her apartment because I was a hot mess. Seriously, like, crying all over the place. Like, it was not pretty. And that night, she really just let me grieve, which is something that I hadn't done since all that stuff happened my junior year. When we were done talking, she asked me if she could pray for me, and I was like, sure. And while she was praying for me, I felt really just comforted and like calmed down. And I think looking back on it now, that's really the first experience I had of God's love impacting me. So I kept going to the Rock. 2 weeks later was Parents' Weekend, and I was really excited. I was going to bring my parents to this new church that I was going to, and I brought them. And afterward, they didn't even have to say anything, but I just knew. Like, they were just like, "Yeah, that was great." And I was like, "Okay, you guys hated that. That was good." And I was really upset that they didn't like it. And I like to reflect a lot, so I was kind of reflecting on that, and I was like, I wouldn't be this mad or like this upset that they didn't like it if it were just something not that important to me, if it was just my friends, or if it was just a church. And so that night I really saw it as like the turning point for me. I could either choose to follow Jesus, or I could go back to who I used to be and who my parents kind of expected me to be. They expected me to come to college and party and have fun. So I could choose one of those options, and that night I chose to follow Jesus, and the next week I was baptized at the fall retreat, and it was kind of just a whirlwind from there. I was just really on fire for God. God was working in me in a lot of ways. I really grew a lot. I had a great community. We were hanging out all the time. We had like Bible study, 8 till 8, FLG, core group, Canvas group, etc., etc. So it was like all of Jesus all the time, right? And then at the end of last school year, they asked me to be an equipper in Plaza. And I literally knew nobody in Plaza, other than that's where Travis was, and he was the guy who sang. I said that I would, but I was really upset that I was being taken away from my community. And this summer, and the end of last school year too, I thought about how hard changing Canvas groups was going to be. And I tried to put my trust in the Rock staff, that this was their plan for me, and they knew what they were doing. I didn't even think, oh, this is God's plan for me, this is what God wants for me. Then this summer, I was working like 60 hours a week, and I really didn't feel that sense of community that I had over the school year, and I kind of became apathetic in my faith, which continued into the school year, which was rough for my faith. I felt like God had kind of picked me up out of this awesome community and dropped me in a place where I didn't necessarily belong. Our first efforts, like doing outreach, were rough. We'd have a dorm hangout and like 3 people would come, or we'd go knock on people's doors for follow-ups, and just no one seemed super interested. Which was really discouraging. And on top of that, I was not in a good place with God. I was feeling really far away from God, which didn't help either. I remember having a conversation with John about just kind of how I was feeling discouraged and things like that. And I remember he just looked at me and he's like, Erica, how many yous do you think there are on this campus? And I thought about it and I was like 20,000. But that was just it. That moment, I realized that I had forgotten everything that I used to be, like who I used to be, and really what God had done for me, and that had kind of pulled me away from God. John told me that I had to let my story be my fire. If God could change me, he could change anybody, because I was really far away from God. And around that same time, I was talking to Elizabeth about how I was feeling, just discouraged and stuff like that, and she goes, so what I'm getting here is that you're not feeling close to God. And I was like, yes. I didn't want to admit that to anybody, because it's kind of embarrassing that the God of the universe loves you and you can't feel close to him. I was like, And she was like, "Are you spending time with him?" No. That's a problem. So together we set up a time each day, 2 o'clock, that I would spend with God. And at first it was kind of a chore. I only did it because I told Elizabeth I would, and I thought it would probably work for me. But really soon into doing that, God started to change my heart again by reminding me of all He had done for me. And through that, He really changed my heart toward our Canvas group too. Instead of just focusing on all the negatives or like if other people were doing better than us, I started to see like all the awesome godly people that I was meeting and getting to reach out to. I remember that I got to, do outreach with 2 of my best friends and live with them. And then at the fall retreat, God really revealed His faithfulness through our Canvas group. We just came together, especially at like the competition part. We just had we won. But that wasn't it. Like, we had a lot of fun. And I remember at our equipping meeting that next weekend, they're like, "So what was the best part of the fall retreat for you guys?" And everyone was like, "The competition." We had a blast. But our communities really came together and has been really developing since then. And but that's not the only place that God, worked through these 2 o'clock times. I still do it every day. It's been almost 2 months now, and He's just really started to show me who He is. I'm learning a lot about His grace and His faithfulness in a lot of aspects of my life. And like through spending time with Him, I've seen how God desires to spend time with me even more than just my 2 o'clock time. And He just keeps becoming more and more real to me. So yeah, that's what God's been doing.
Must be like an old dad sitting in the audience just crying. Isn't that,